Yo, 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 what is going on, you guys? It's the best video game podcast, the Sticky Buttons podcast. This is your host, Brandon,
And this is Blake.
and we're coming at you with another episode. And first of all, I want to apologize to you guys because I made a mistake a couple episodes ago where I thought the episode was 58, but actually, this is 58. Real episode 58, so to say.
And you know what's funny about that, Brandon, is Brandon's apologizing, but it was really me because I make the titles. So this is the real episode 58. You know, it's funny, man, because we were talking about what was going to happen in 85, but we should have been talking about what was going to happen in episode 58.
That's true. We could have never guessed what's coming in this one, though. I don't think
Honestly,
so.
I don't think we could have, man. This is a crazy lineup that we have today. So let's jump right into it, man. Are you cool with that?
Let's jump right into it.
All right, dude. I am going to tell you about this game. And I got to be honest, I've never really played anything like this. It's a totally unique experience that I'm having. And I just think it's so fascinating. So I really want to talk to you about it. Let me ask you, have you heard of this video game? It's called Citizen Sleeper.
Citizen Sleeper. No, I've never heard of it. Enlighten me. What is this video
Oh
game? I'm
my
so
gosh,
curious.
dude,
You
it's
sound so excited. Like we were
I
talking about it before the
uh,
podcast, and Blake was being like so ambiguous. He was like, "Don't look at the notes." Like I just want to be like fresh on this. So I'm super curious to hear what Blake has to say about
Oh
this.
my gosh. So right off the bat, this game came out this year, and I think that this is probably one of the most unique video games I've ever brought to the table. And I'm absolutely loving it, man. But here's the thing. What makes it unique, and in my opinion, like so amazing, is what I think would turn a lot of people off of it. So I guess just to get into a little bit, I'm just kind of talking about what the game is and then see if you've ever like played anything like it. And then we'll kind of maybe get into more of the things that make this game super interesting. So this is kind of like playing a board game because it's a video game, but it's not confined to a table, like a tabletop. So I just think it makes it like really cool. So that's kind of the conceit of it, I would say, or kind of like the general premise. It's like you're playing a board game, but it's a video game. So it's like not confined to a tabletop. And it's confined to a really cool setting. It's confined to a space station. And there's a lot of text. So you have to do a lot of reading, but there's also a lot of interactions and whatnot. And that's kind of like the setting. And the gameplay is you as the player have to take certain actions, and the outcomes of these actions are decided by a dice roll that happens on screen. And some of the actions are just pass or fail, and some of them are pass or fail, but could have a good, neutral, or negative outcome associated with it passing or failing. So, like, you could pass, like, you could be like, I want to do this outcome, or I want to do this action, but this action is risky. Like, I could pass it, but it could have a negative outcome. Or you could pass it and it could have a positive outcome. And then it's like, those are like additions to it. So like you're on a spaceship. So I guess to give you an example of something like this, let's say you're doing work in this space station and you're at a shipyard and you're trying to maybe earn some money, like working a shift at the shipyard. And you have the dice and you're going to roll the dice to see if you make money for that day. And one of the positive, neutral, or negative outcomes could be yes, you successfully work the shift and get money. They also decided to buy food for the shift. Or it could be like a neutral outcome, which, like, yes, you just worked the shift and like you just made the money. Or you worked the shift and you got injured and your energy goes down a little bit. And or like things like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of an example of kind of what the game is, kind of at its concept. And that's like the basis of the gameplay. So let me ask you, have you ever played a game like this?
I don't think I've ever played a narrative RPG. Like I think the closest thing to a game like this I've ever played, and this might make you laugh, Blake, but I think the closest thing is probably Mario Party.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's not like that at all. Like I can see how you would get that because your character's rolling the dice and it is like a board game. it is kind of like a video game version of the board game, right? But it's still like the platform that you are on, like the platform that you're playing and moving the character around, like that is a board and like it is confined by the board. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah.
But since, and I guess that is like a video game board game, but this is not confined to that. It's like not confined to a board. And I guess, actually, like, I guess you could make the parallel that your screen that you're playing this on is a board and you are kind of moving. So you are moving around this space station and like going to different areas on the space station. And then you can decide if you want to do certain actions on those. So like I
Right.
said, in a sense, it is kind of like that. It is kind of like that.
Ultimately, though, you are the net, like you're telling the story, and by your roles.
Kind of. Yeah. So actually, I haven't gotten into that, but yeah, it kind of is because so I said there's a lot of reading and there's a lot of reading and a lot of dialogue. And when you meet people and have the dialogue, like there's just like this dope, awesome art style, like depiction of the person that's talking to you. And then you like read through all of this dialogue and then you're like back to the basis of the game, which is doing actions and having the dice be these actions. And man, I've just got to say, the actual like dialogue and the reading is incredible, and the art is incredible, and the sound isn't necessarily like a music soundtrack that I would say is super defining, but there's a lot of like ambient noise. It's like if you were on a space station, you would hear this kind of noise. So it's like very atmospheric and really puts you into place here. And this is kind of where I was saying that I think that this is what makes it really unique to me, but I don't know if everyone would like this, is you have to really use your imagination. And I feel like that is something that is kind of lost in video games, especially with, graphics just getting so much better. Like you kind of lose that imagination part of it. And in this, because it's pretty much all text and like these really cool images, like your mind and imagination have to do a lot of work. And I think that that is really what the magic of this game is.
I see. So you really have to do your part and interact with the game. I do in Pokemon and just press A for every like character dialogue. You really got to tune in. But I
Yeah.
imagine it's easy to do that because that's like the game is based off of. So you're just like focused on that.
Well, the thing is, the narrative of it is an absolutely incredible. And here's the thing, Brandon, there are multiple endings. So it really like what you choose to do in those dialogue, like it really matters. And like it's also really interesting. So I have to be honest, everything that I just told you was just like a pretense, just so you kind of understood the game. And I'm going to be honest, I did not pick it up for any of that. I'm very glad that I did because I actually love board games and maybe we can talk about that in a second. But that's not why I picked it up at all. I picked it up for the narrative of it, which is just, it's absolutely crazy. And I can't wait to tell you about it. And I think that I wanted to bring up the gameplay and what it was because I think it's like magical and having to like put it together with your imagination. I think that that is like a really special part of it, but that's not really the hook of the game. So let me ask you this before we get into that. Have you ever played like a board game or like outside of video games? What's your experience with board games? Like, have you ever played Settlers of Catan?
I haven't played that game. It sounds really badass. But I haven't played Monopoly.
Okay.
I love Monopoly. I played the Game of Life.
Okay.
That's a good one. Operation is fun. I don't know if you would consider that a board game though.
Yeah, I would say it's a board game.
What else? Cards Against Humanity. Is that a board game? That's just
I would
card
say so. I
game.
mean, it's like a card game, but I would say it's like in the same realm.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah, I've definitely checked something out. Something that comes to mind too, and I know it's not a board game, but Minecraft Story Mode. Have you ever played that?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, it's like a narrative RPG as well. You just kind of like tell the story by like decisions that you make going through it. It's really interesting. And that's what this game kind of makes me think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of similar in a way. But also, I just wanted to ask you if you've ever played Settlers of Catan, because that is like my favorite board game. Honestly, it might be like one of my favorite gaming experiences. And I just can't believe we haven't. I mean, we're 58 episodes in. I don't think we've ever talked about it.
We've never touched that once. Like that's such a distinct name. I would remember Settlers of Catan. I mean, I've heard it like here and there, but I didn't know it was a board game.
Okay. I actually, man, we're gonna have to play this game because I kind of knew about this game, but I was doing a bunch of like research trying to find a board game-esque video game, which it's funny because I prefaced all of this with saying that I wasn't really looking for, or this is not why I picked this game up. I was looking for a board game type video game. And I just think it's funny that I picked this up for a different reason. So it's like also like scratching an itch that I was like looking to scratch in like a sense of like a board game, but also, so we'll have to come back to that.
Two birds with one stone.
I know for real. Yeah, it absolutely is. So this is the part that I think you're going to find most interesting, Brandon. And this is the reason that I picked up the game. And it's the narrative of this. And oh my gosh, it's just crazy. Like, and I really hope that I do it justice. So I guess I'm just gonna kind of tell you like the basis of the story here. So you play as a sleeper and you are an AI and you know of your creation and that you are conscious. And obviously you are not alive, but you still need to eat and sleep. And surviving as this AI is kind of the main premise of this game. And you're also grappling with that fact because you know that you being created was when a person decided to sell a copy of themselves to a corporation, and that copy is you. And you became an indentured servant / slave to this corporation. And then after you have no idea how long you've been there, you started to gain sentience, like waking up. And you decided to run away from this corporation along with a group of other sleepers, and you revolt and escape. And unfortunately, the others don't make it. And that's where the game begins. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's really interesting. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how that kind of played out in the beginning, like what decisions you had to make.
Well, that's like where the game begins. Like you kind of all get that at the beginning. It's crazy, man. It's like I haven't really even gotten into it. It's just like the beginning. Like you're a sleeper. And gosh, it's just crazy to me because like, I don't know, you and me, like we're both kind of fascinated with AI ethics, but like you play as a sleeper, a person that's a person, but they are essentially a copy of somebody else. And you're just like, what? I don't know. For me personally,
Wait, hold on, back that up. You said
yeah,
a person that's a person.
all right. So, okay. So you're a sleeper. That's what the game calls it. You're a sleeper. The game is Citizen Sleeper, and you are a copy of somebody else. In this world, let's say me, a person, I decided that I was going to sell a copy of myself, like a copy of your brain. Let's just say a copy of your brain to a corporation, and they put that brain in a robot body. And that's the AI. And that AI is like an indentured servant.
I see.
So it's kind of like for me personally, I was just like, what would drive a person to like sell a copy of themselves to a corporation? And it's like that person, they get to walk away, but this copy of them, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of envisioning and it's kind of like this person, and this is kind of like where your imagination kind of gets to take hold. So I'm personally imagining somebody that was in a lot of debt and they sold a copy of themselves, you know, to this corporation, and that person gets to walk free, you know, hopefully with some money or some other benefit. But you're also like damning yourself. You are not the version of yourself that's a slave, but like you're damning yourself to that in a sense.
That's really interesting, but are you really though? Because it's not you.
But that's kind of the whole thing, is that you are not the person. You wake up as this citizen sleeper. So now you are the AI. That's who you're playing as. You're playing as the sleeper.
Oh shit.
So you're the AI.
So you're playing as yourself, but as the AI version of yourself that was sold into slavery.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, the way I'm envisioning it as like two separate entities. Like it's kind of interesting, just like the thought of it, but you're just playing as this AI. Like that's it. Like you're just the AI. It's mentioned in passing that in order for you to be created, somebody had to sell a copy of themselves. And that's how like AI exists. Like AI exists only as copies of other people. Oh man, I just think that's such a cool premise. You know what I mean?
Your AI exists only as copies of other people.
Yeah, that's what you are. Yeah, you're a copy. But like it's also like it's very clear through the text and the dialogue that like this AI is sentient. Like you are a person. I'm kind of role playing as that, right? Because I'm playing it, I'm moving them around. I decide what they do in their day to day because I'm the player. I'm role playing as the sleeper. I feel like ownership over it because I'm like, I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is kind of like all video games, but like it feels especially here because it's like you can really imprint yourself on it because like this person just woke up in a sense, you know, and like you just know, I don't know, it's just crazy to me because it's like you and all these other sleepers revolted, and it's kind of like mentioned in passing that like none of them made it. Like you're the only one that made it. And oh my gosh, it's crazy. I took a screenshot of some of the dialogue. Let me grab my Switch really quick, see if I can find anything that would help you.
This is blowing my mind. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's like the Matrix kind of.
It is, man. It's really crazy. So, do you have any thoughts just like right off the bat? Like, how do you feel about this? Would you ever do that? Would you ever like sell a copy of yourself to be a slave?
It's a really interesting question. I feel like, why not? Part of me is like, it's just a part, it's not me inherently, it's just a copy. But
Hmm.
then another part of me is like, well, if that AI is actually sentient and has feelings and emotions, like that's pretty much a human being. And like I'm a human being into slavery. That has just some ethical things that I'm just like, I don't know, I don't feel right about that. Something about that feels wrong, you know what I mean? But I can't really quite place it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of the whole point of it, which is really interesting. So this is kind of why I think I'm connecting with it so much is because the writing is just so good. It really puts you in the place of it. So let me read you. This is actually, I took some screenshots at the very beginning. So let me read that to you, Brandon. All right. The first thing you become aware of is waking in the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many hours of darkness trying to recall what it feels like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. A leap into a cold lake on a hot day, the sting of blood swelling from a fresh wound, the friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden, the memories are closer than you ever thought, blurring as you approach until you can't tell one from the other. The cold slips in, behind and around you, and sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thinking or thankful for the dull nature of this new body. Given your current circumstances, the walls of the corridor feel immediately present, cold and hard at your back and face, cramping your limbs. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat to a little form of your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain, at least. You mostly remember that it wasn't a good plan, that your options were limited. And once you got the itch to get out by any means possible, it was either this plan or something much worse. It was at least simple. Collapse the shaft, drift away in the chaos, slip into a cargo processing, and seal yourself into a container, and then just hope the freight left before you were missed. Some were lost in the shaft. Others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers. But the freight, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough. Enough to know that you might no longer be on the grim, heartless rock. Even if the airless hold of your freight, you might freeze solid long before you reach any destination. Isn't that crazy?
Dude, that's insane.
There's more, but it's just like it really, I'll save the rest for you if you want to pick it up. But man, I feel like just that beginning, like it really kind of makes you empathize with them because I think we all like kind of know what it's like to start feeling our own ethos. You know what I mean? Like whenever we're children and we start to wake up to our own consciousness and become our own people, You know what I mean? The way that they're describing this AI kind of becoming conscious, it kind of feels like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. That just hooked me. And ever since then, I decided that I was just going to see more of it. And I'll tell you what, I have been pleasantly surprised and delighted of like everything that has come up since. So, so that's kind of where the story begins. And you're awakened by a scrapper. And this scrapper is like the person that is like scrapping the ship that you're on. But like you also, as you just heard, like you were in a freight cargo and like now you are in a scrapyard on this space station. And it's kind of like, how did that happen? And it's also like, how or why is the ship that you are on now getting scrapped? And that's a very big unanswered question. But basically, that's how you find yourself in the scrapyard. And the owner of the scrapyard, they give you a place to sleep and you're on the verge of dying. So they kind of save you and they give you a place to stay and they give you some work. And as you're doing it, so basically you have an energy bar, and based on the energy bar, that's how many dice you can get in a day. So like you can only do, I think you start out with 4 dice. I think you can only do 4 actions. And then there's like, you have to give food because there's also like, there's a bar. And I guess like, let's just say there's 4 dice and there's a 4 bars on the energy. It's like if you eat a meal, it'll give you all 4 energy bars, and then you can, I guess, roll your dice. But as you like go through your day and do your actions and roll your dice, that meter goes down. So you have to eat in order to be able to like do those actions, which is kind of like how like people work. Like you have to eat in order to like actually do things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's also kind of said in the, I guess, the lore of this game that because you are an AI, but like the only way it works is because you're a copy of a person. Like you still have to eat and sleep. So you basically eat mushrooms, and like it's pretty much all you get is like mushrooms, and like there's no joy in it really. But like you have to eat to sustain yourself, and then you have to sleep as well. So when you're out of dice, the only thing you can do is go to sleep, and then when you wake up, if you ate the night before or if you ate during the day, or if you did an action and it gave you food, you have like dice to roll,
I see.
which is kind of cool. And oh my gosh, and this is like as you're doing this, like you're working at the scrapyard, using your actions pretty much just to get money at the scrapyard. That's really all you can do. But there's this really big bar at the top of the screen, Brandon, and it's like slowly ticking down. And the game doesn't really tell you what that is, and it's ticking down. And then you realize that it also lines up with the food meter, and it's in like the same like the 4 dice, 3 dice, 2 dice. And you kind of see once this bar gets to a certain point, it doesn't matter how much you eat, you can only roll 3 dice. So basically, because this bar is going down, it limits your actions. And you're just like, what is this? And you don't really know. And you kind of explore the space station and you find a doctor. And it's a very cool interaction because this doctor's practice is kind of like owned by a gang, right? So it's kind of like they help you, but like you have to go through the security of like all these goons. And then the doctor's like, well, you're not a person, but I can help you. And everybody calls you Sleeper. He's like, I can help you, Sleeper, but I have to tell, like, do you know of your condition? And you don't know of your condition because you don't really know anything. She says, well, I have some bad news for you. And so it's called planned obsolescence. And she says, because you're a sleeper, you're considered property. And I know that you're awake because you're here and that you're alive, but you are going to die unless you get this serum. And the serum is owned by the corporation you left, and they're the sole proprietor of it. They're the only ones that have it, and they're the only ones that can manufacture it. She said, so unless you get some more of that, you're going to die. And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
just like, what? Like, this is crazy. That's another main part of this game is that green bar at the top. Like, that is,
Dude, that just got so morbid.
I know, I know. It's crazy, man. And basically, she says, you have this much time left. And then she explains the bar, like, come back and see me. I'll ask the house if they can get you some. And you're like, okay. And you leave and you start working, but now you have this anxiety that you're like, oh my God, I have to get more. So there's also like this mechanic where it's kind of like a wheel. Basically, you can't do an action for a certain amount of cycles, which are days. So like basically she has like it's a wheel and it has four. But it's like you can't go back to the doctor for 4 days, like 4 cycles. And then you go back there and she has some and she gives it to you. She's like, the house was able to get this. Don't ask me how, but they got it. And I can treat you for free now because you're on the verge of dying, but you have to pay next time. And basically, you get this full green bar, and the space station starts to open up a little bit, and you start to like go about your day. But in the back of your mind, like you're like, how much is this going to cost? Because you can't go back and ask her because it's got the wheel. So you like, I don't know, it's like this anxiety of, oh my gosh, if I don't get this, like I'm gonna die and I can't even worry about it right now. Like I have to like explore and do all these things. And oh my gosh, man, it's crazy. Like that's just a crazy crux to the game, don't you think?
It really is. You got to get that serum. And so you have to get it before your green health bar diminishes, right?
Yeah. And it's also so like then once she fills it up, you have 5 dice rolls, but it also ticks down.
So you need more.
Yeah, so she filled it up, but it's ticking down. And you notice every cycle you lose a tick. And you have a lot more ticks than you do of like your meal, but
Right.
it's like every day it's ticking down. And like you can only make so much money in a day. And a lot of times you have to choose whether you're making money or if you're exploring or doing like fun options. And it's like it's not fun to work at the scrapyard, like to spend all your dice on the scrapyard or to like, see if you can get food for the next day so you have more dice. So it's kind of
Right.
like you really have to like balance that out. And it's also you might wake up and you might have one action that's so basically it's like 5 and 6s. If you roll a 5 or a 6, you're pretty much gonna guaranteed to get that action. And if it's like a 3 and a 4, I think it's you probably, but you might get a negative, or it's like you might not pass or fail if it's like a 1 or a 2. So it also like kind of gives you the probability of what kind of dice you're gonna roll, which is also nice. So it's not just like a clean roll. It's like you're probably gonna get a higher option here, depending on your dice. So you really have to like plan it out. Like, what action do I need to get today? Which one do I need to? And then it's like, which ones can I risk it on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy. I still have some more to say, but I think we should take a break and come back to this. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you in a sec. I'll see you, sleeper.
And we are back for another cycle.
Love that, man. But dude, let me ask you, how does that sound? Like, do you think you'd ever pick up a game like this? How do you feel about like, I guess what we talked about with the planned obsolescence and I don't know, like the bleakness of it and having to decide like what you're doing?
It sounds really, really interesting. I think I would definitely pick out something like this because I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like it. And I'm super curious. I love the concept, the planned obsolescence. I couldn't help but think about that, planned obsolescence as a business tactic and kind of made me giggle a little bit.
I think that's the point, man. Oh man, it really, it's interesting because I don't know. For me personally, I'm somebody that has like a degree in finance and economics, and I'm very critical, of our society and our economic policies and capitalism as it exists today and our culture. But it's really kind of, I don't know, at least for me, posing questions of ownership and like these consciousness, like you specifically, and like property and these kind of business concepts that I've never had to think of in this kind of way in life. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. You never had to think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, dude, it got really morbid because it's like you're literally losing your life if you don't get that serum in time.
Yeah. And it's crazy, man, because it's also like kind of implied when you talk to the doctor that she's like, don't ask me how they got this. Like, I don't even know if they'll be able to get more because like that corporation owns it. She's like, it's also like people probably died to get you that. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what she's saying. Like certainly crimes were committed to get you this, but you don't know the extent of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's also really heavy. And I think that's important sometimes, especially in video games. Like I think it's,
Yeah. To kind of just make people think.
yeah.
I feel like it just gives you that factor of like thinking. And
Hmm.
I really like something you mentioned about like the imagination part, like how your imagination plays a huge part
Hmm.
interacting with this title. And I'm curious to see how that plays out for myself, just checking out a title like this, especially like the concepts that are being talked about. Like, we could go into a rabbit hole on the podcast and talk about all those things for hours, man, because it's really tough stuff. And when it boils down to it, it just comes down to money and people's like insatiable greed for it.
Yeah. And that's crazy that you bring that up. I'm going to come back to that, but really quick, kind of on something you had said right before that. This game, like in your imagination, I think that that's what would turn a lot of people off of it because there is a lot of reading. And in video games today, we're always like the highest fidelity. What's the next gen gonna look like? Oh my gosh, like, I'm so excited for the next big game that pushes the boundaries of this graphics card, and sometimes like it's nice to take a step back from that, but also what does this do that can't? And like ask that question. It's also like we don't need that. Like I don't need every game to be the next like biggest, most bombastic thing because it's not interesting to me. I feel like that's exhausting. I've seen like a mountain vista of a fantasy land, and I've seen it like a bunch because everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that got people here. No, like it's not. I mean, it's cool that it's there. I love seeing that, but like that's not why we're all here. And I think that with this plan, I think I talked about like the anxiety of the planned obsolescence and like you having to make sure that you have enough food and like you don't know how much things are going to cost.
Right.
Like it's so hard to get money. The actions that you're taking, like the physical roll of the dice, have so much weight because you can at max have five. And then you're only going to have four. And then you're only going to have three. And then you're only going to have two. And then you're only going to have one. And for me, it really puts into perspective like the weight of it, the
Right.
weight of your actions. And to kind of come back to it a little bit, what you had said about like greed, I haven't even touched on this yet, but you are not the only person on the space station. And you meet so many people, and it is just so abundantly clear that everybody is struggling and they might be struggling just as much as you. Yeah, they don't have this planned obsolescence. And I think that's just like what's so crazy about it is shit's bleak for you, but you are just constantly introduced to people that it might be more bleak for them. Like you in the situation that you're in are sympathizing and trying to help out other people. And I'm very glad that this happened to me very early on. I got prompted to help somebody out. And they were like, hey, you have the skills to help me out here. I don't meet many people that have the skills that can help me. If you give me like 100 credits, I'll be able to get my next contract and I'll be able to like get a contract so that we can get work and I can feed myself and this person that works for me. And then if you work for me, then we might be able to like save this operation. They're basically asking you to pay money for you to work for them for then like maybe you'll get a return of it. And
So maybe they could scam you.
and that's like one of the options. No, you don't have the money to risk it. You could be scamming me. Or it's like choose to trust, have faith in this human, have faith in humanity, basically, is like what the options are. And I decided to trust them. And like, oh my gosh, I really am sympathizing with them. And like, I just think that they're a really interesting character. And the person that they work with is very interesting. But it's also kind of like this person that works for them is like a teen. Also, like, it brings in teen angsts. And it's like, I don't need this teen shit and drama. I'm trying to survive here. But it's also, then they like say some things and you're like, oh my gosh, they're really going through it too. This shit's bad for everybody. And then, oh my gosh, like it is just absolutely crazy the depth that it goes into. and there's multiple endings. So like obviously you choose your own adventure. Like if you decide not to trust that person, or honestly, there might be an invisible dice roll that like maybe you could have chosen to given them stuff and they might have scammed you. At the moment, I have not actually gotten anything back from them, but I have worked on that project, that contract, and it's actually crazy. I'll get into this a little bit. Basically, she got the contract with the money that I gave her, but then they lost it because I didn't help them. I was about to die and I needed to like go see the doctor and get more of my stim. And like they ended up losing the contract because I didn't help them out. And he's like, yeah, the team came and was like, yeah, it really sucks that you couldn't help us out. Like, you really could have been the one that could have saved that last project. But it's on to the next one. We got one more chance if this is it. And I'm just like, oh my God, I was just trying to survive. I had one dice roll. I could not help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Because also what was going on right after I gave them all my money, pretty much, this bounty hunter comes after me. And like also, I don't really consider the spoilers because there's multiple endings. Like you choose like how you decide to handle things. But this bounty hunter comes and I try to convince the bounty hunter to let me live. He's like, you're property of this corporation. They hired me to bring you back. Like, I don't care what happens to you. I'm just here for the contract. I don't care at all. You are literally their property. It says so right here. I tried to fight them. I lost. I don't know if there was like an invisible dice roll, but I think it's like if you choose to fight them, I think you lose. And then like I tried to run with the handcuffs and he like caught up to me and then like hit me and my stim bar went down. He basically did real damage to me in the only way that matters to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was just like brutal. And I kept being like, try to convince him to let you go. Finally, he's like, all right, I'll let you go, sleeper, but you have to pay my bar tab. You've got 13 days. Let's see how much of a bar tab I can rack up in 13 days. If you can pay it off, we'll just see how that goes. But if you can't pay off my bar tab in 13 days, I'm taking you in. And that's going to pay for my bar tab.
Wow.
So I'm just like, oh my God, like now I've got this to deal with. Like I've got this shit, like this bounty hunter's coming after me and I have to pay him. He's not even off my tail permanently. Oh my gosh, that was so hard. That part right there, like I was about to die. I just gave them my money to like help them, help these people out. And now I had like a full health of stim, but then this bounty hunter like came and beat me up. And now I don't have full health anymore. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then like I'm going through this and I finally like get enough to pay off this bounty hunter's tab. So I'm basically just working this whole time. Like I'm only working and worrying about food. And then I like go to pay off this bounty hunter's tab. And this is where like I get confronted with some real choices here. And I think that a lot of people could take different options, but I basically paid off the tab. And like there were like ways I could have confronted them about paying the tab, but I just paid the tab. I was like, I'm going to be submissive here. I don't want to like, I need my health. I can't risk it because they really like did a dent to me last time. So I just submissive. And then like they escalate the situation. So it's like you could have escalated it through the dialogue, but then they decide to. Basically, they get distracted and like you get presented with, and like they're being a menace to the bar. It's also like everybody in the bar is booing at them. Like they're clearly an unpopular figure at this bar because they've just been living there for 13 days. You know, like I'm sure they've been obnoxious. And you basically get their gun and then they're distracted. And it gave me the choice, like, take the shot and kill the bounty hunter. And I was like, oh my God, dude, like, am I about to like commit murder in this game? Like, am I about to do this? What would you have done, Brandon?
I would have slimed him out, no cap. I would have wiped his nose. What do you mean? Like he did me dirty.
I know I did the same thing. I decided
Oh
to
my
pull the
God,
trigger.
Blake. I was
pulled the
joking,
trigger.
Blake. What?
I know.
Crazy.
I know. But here's the thing, Brandon. I decide to kill. Also, like I'm sitting here in my bed with my Switch. I'm just like, oh, fuck it. Like I'm gonna do it, man. Like it just presents you in a way. It's like, are you gonna make this decision? And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill him. And I pull the trigger, and it says nothing happens.
What? Yo, you got me at the edge of my seat right
I
now.
know. And the bartender looks at you and like holds up the clip and it says, with sad eyes, shows you that he disabled the gun. So this guy was like so drunk and belligerent at the bar that the bartender took actions against the bounty hunter so he couldn't hurt anyone. And then it's like you're about to like he's hurting you and you get the chance to like make things right for yourself. And then the bounty hunter takes like the empty
God.
gun, throws it at the bartender, and like says, "This isn't over, sleeper," and like leaves the bar. And, like you don't know what happens next, but he's out there. Oh my
So
gosh,
did you
man.
pick up the gun that the bartender got whacked with?
No, he was gone. He said, "I'll be back for my gun." And he
Oh
just threw it
man.
at the. I don't think he hurt the bartender, but I mean, it's up to your imagination, I guess, up to interpretation.
Oh man.
My gosh, man. I was like, how did I go through this? It was a work night, and I was like, it's 1 a.m. I normally go to bed at like 10 or 11. I was like on the edge of my seat, like playing this because like so much was going on. And oh my gosh, dude, it's crazy. And it really evokes like, I don't know, the most human of emotions that I've ever felt playing this game. It makes me question so much about my ethics. Because like here I am, man. I'm at a low point. Oh my gosh. It's just like it really makes you think like what would you actually do?
Now for real, Blake. I learned something about you on episode 58. I learned something about him, guys.
Hey.
Blake will really slime you out, man. Don't mess with Blake, man.
Hey man. It's a dog eat dog world out there, man.
Oh man, Citizen Sleep, dude. This
Oh,
sounds like a crazy title. So is it just on the Switch?
I think it's on everything. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm playing it on the Switch. And you know, it's an indie game. You know, we love champion indies here.
Got a
I think the
screen.
title's only like $20.
Let's go.
So it's certainly worth picking up just to see if it's for you. And there's multiple endings. And I don't know for sure, but I think that there was an ending where I never even made it to the bounty hunter. It was really hard for me to get that stem like the first time and the second time. And I don't know if it's ever going to get easier to get those. I might just like think if I get some bad dice, it might just be over. I'm like, I think that's part of the multiple endings. Like, I don't know. I think that could be it for you.
That's part of the ending. Like, yeah, you just don't have any more, and now you can't play anymore.
Like,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Oh my gosh, man. I will say that is one of the most intense video game experiences I've had in a while. Check it out, Citizen Sleeper, if you're interested. Oof.
What a title, man.
Yeah, don't tempt me with a good time at a bar, I'll tell you that much.
Dude, imagine the bar tab you would rack up in New York City like that.
Uh, yeah, I don't even want to think about it, man.
14 days in bar. Like,
That's more than your rent, my friend. Let me ask you this. You're a New York native. What's the most expensive drink you've ever gotten?
most expensive drink I've ever gotten. It's a good question.
I guess I'll go. I would say the places that I go to that I eat at normally, I would say that the cocktails that I normally get. So I also like I do drink beer, but like most of the time I get cocktails. I would say most of
Me
the
too.
cocktails I get are like 18 to 24. I would
Yeah,
say that's about the
that's
range.
but you know what's crazy, Blake, is I'm over here thinking about like an exorbitant number, but you're right. Like 18 to 24 is like insane. I'm thinking about experiences I've had at like one-off places like Sugar Factory or something like that, or
Hmm.
where drinks are like upwards like $100 because they put a bunch of stuff in, you find all types of things. But like cocktails, yeah, $24. I was just at this restaurant, Spoonto, recently with a middle school friend. Shout out to my friend Mohammed. He's probably gonna listen to this episode. Yeah, drinks were like $15.
That's pretty good.
It was nothing crazy. It was just like vodka and like some lemonade. It
Yeah, that's the
definitely
thing,
it
man.
like cost $1, like nothing to make the drink, and they sold it to me for like 15, $20. And I get it. They gotta pay rent. Rent
Yeah,
is insane.
yeah, that's crazy, man.
I think that's one of the main things that's like crazy about this city. Like I've heard so many stories about just rent and just shitty landlords and yeah, man, New York real estate is a deep. It's a dungeon. I don't know.
Yeah, it really is, man. I don't know for sure, but I always wonder just because I'm sure that you knew this, but they like preserve the New York City skyline in a lot of neighborhoods. Where, like you can only Like you can't build above a certain floor because they want to preserve the like Friends aesthetic that they have on like the transitions in Friends, 6-story walk up kind of vibe, like the brick. You know what I'm talking about? Like the fire escape on the brick. Oh, you're muted.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you seen Friends?
Oh, yes, I have seen Friends.
And it's like the transition screen where it's like the 6-story walk
The
up.
the apartment that they're in, and it's like
Yeah.
you're talking about their fire escape with that apartment.
Yeah, like that aesthetic where it's like the fire escape and like the bricks and like the six
Yeah,
story walk up.
yeah,
They preserve that, like the skyline of that. They keep that because there's like laws in place so that that is like preserved in a lot of different neighborhoods. And I think that, I don't know, this is just me. This is Blake's opinion on New York City infrastructure. They preserve that historically. They preserve that to keep that aesthetic because that's what people think of when they think of New York. It's not necessarily what I think of New York, but like what other people think of when they think of New York. And I just think that, and like all these buildings are so old. These buildings are like pre-war building. Like it's like before 1942, like all these buildings were made. I'm just like, if they just like went away with that, I feel like it would be such a better city because they'd be able to build new infrastructure to like accommodate the modern times. I don't know. That's just me. That's just Blake's speculation and opinion on New York City infrastructure.
I definitely think you're right. And I remember I did an internship with a general contractor way back in like 2016, and it was really, really cool. They did. Are you familiar? I'm sure you're familiar with general contractors, right? Like what they
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
we would see like all different types of buildings, but something that was really cool are like the historic buildings.
Hmm.
Like you cannot touch those at all. They have to remain exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I think that might be what you're talking about, like the
Yeah. Hmm.
prefab, like 1942, like you
Hmm.
can't do anything. And
Yeah.
it's like if we just tore that down and made like some more efficient construction, which we totally can.
Like one more people could live there, but it's also like it would be a better place for those people to live in as well.
And it would be more environmentally friendly, I feel like. It would
Yeah,
probably breathe
absolutely.
better and cause less pollution because we have newer technology in there.
I think this might be crazy for people, but like if you don't live in New York City, but they have like energy ratings. They'll like come and slap a rating on your building and it'll say like how efficient your building is. I've basically just lived in these. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I haven't had anyone energy rate my home in Queens,
Oh, I guess you don't live in an apartment building, no.
but I know
I'm sure
that
your colleges have them. I'm sure they've
I'm
got
sure.
those.
Yeah, they do. I see them walking around. That when I go
Mhm.
to school, I see like the energy ratings on the doors of the building. I see it sometimes in the Upper West Side.
Mhm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're doing that and we're taking some measures to kind of mitigate the
Yeah.
damage.
It's interesting because I mean, like I said, a lot of these buildings are like pre 1940s. Like there was one in my old neighborhood that I could see from my window. They clearly heated the building with coal. And like you could see them, they would like every hour or so, they'd release the chimney and like the literal coal would go out. Um, and it's also like the building just looked, oh my gosh, well, I'm trying to think of what the aesthetic is, but it's like the aesthetic of like the 1920s where it's like the really thin, like futuristic letters. Do you know what I'm talking about? Think of like the Great Gatsby and like that kind of architecture. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was a building that like looked like that was probably done in like the early 30s, late 20s, and it like looks pristine because they've kept it up and they've got like a parking lot and rich people live there for sure. But it's like you're powering your building with coal. Like, come on.
It's so funny
Oh,
and
it's
thinking about
crazy,
that, people
man.
with Teslas who are like, "Oh, I'm doing such a good thing for the environment," and then they're like charging their Tesla at home that is it goes right to the main line that's powered by coal. And it's ironic. And the last administration we had in wanted to put more coal and they did succeed in, you know, bringing back coal, which apparently made this country great. I don't think it's that efficient. I think nuclear energy is pretty efficient,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
especially if it's computer monitored.
Hmm.
I feel like nuclear energy is the future, man.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's so much safer. Like, if I guess, I don't know. I mean, we're on a video game podcast. Like, if you want to do some research, I mean, we both met working at Patagonia, so we're very passionate about the environment. But yeah, do some of your own research, but maybe we can speak to it another day. But absolutely, like, nuclear is the future. Like, And I guess one last point on that. I think that in the last decades, it has become a lot easier for nuclear power plants to come about. And I don't know if you knew this, Brandon, but the process to make a nuclear plant used to take 50 years in the not so distant past. So I guess like in this past decade, it has gone from like 50-year application process to like 20. So
Wow, dude, that's impressive. I'm
it's
glad to see
crazy.
that. And I hope it's kind of like a Moore's Law kind of thing where it just keeps
Mhm.
on speeding up and we just get better.
Yeah. And like to be clear, it's not because it takes more to do that. It's just because the United States legislation made it so that it is in order for a nuclear power plant to come online, it is a very lengthy process. I would say I'm more knowledgeable than the average person because one of my neighbors growing up was a nuclear engineer.
That's so fascinating. That's one of the jobs when people ask me like what kind of engineer I want to be. Sometimes I've told them nuclear because I think nuclear is really cool, but ultimately mechanical. I think is what mechanical is where my heart lies. But nuclear is right there, man. It's so fascinating, and it's the future, like we're
Hmm.
saying. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we should talk about this in a future episode. Maybe we can check out like a I think they have some like simulation games where you manage a power grid or something. Maybe we'll have to check those out.
For sure, man. But speaking of like simulation games, Minecraft, I've been playing a lot of that, dude.
Yeah. What have you been doing recently?
So my buddy Andre, who tunes into the pod pretty all the time, shouts out to Andre if you're listening to. He started out a realm called the Bikini Bottom, and it's just him and his older brother and some of his older brother's friends. And man, we've been kicking it out there, man. We've been chilling
In Bikini
the
Bottom?
Bikini Bottom, and yeah, dude, just I kind of found a village recently, and I've been trying to bring it back because when I found the village, it was right by a raid, a pillager home, kind of, or pillager castle rather.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with what pillagers are?
I'm not. I was about to ask.
Pillagers
So,
are a mob in Minecraft that they were added in kind of one of the later updates, and they carry these like flags, and they kind of look like Squidward in the face, but they're built like villagers, if that makes sense.
okay, what are they called? Villager mobs?
So they're called pillagers.
Oh,
Think
pillager.
of like pillaging, because
Yep, okay.
that's literally what they do. They go to a village and they pillage, and they kill all the villagers, and they take all their crops, and then they go back to their respective castle. And so, I found this village after it had been raided
Oh my gosh,
twice.
they got the weirdest noses,
Yeah,
man.
that's what
What
I'm
the
saying.
heck?
They got like
What is up
screwed
with
up
this?
noses. You almost want to hit them with your sword.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, I came to this village. They had gotten raided twice, and so it's completely distraught. Mobs are everywhere in this village. There are no more iron golems to protect it. So, I got to replenish, I got to restore it and bring back some villagers and, make it a lively place again. So I've been working with, my colleagues at the Bikini Bottom, and we're getting it done, Blake. And Minecraft, it's fascinating how I can always go back to this game and just find so much fun and be able to pour hours and hours into it. Such a
Yeah,
great game, and there's always more to explore. There's always more to do, and I always feel it's almost like programming in a way because it's like I know that there's these so many great things that I can do, but like in a way, you gotta like practice it. You know what I mean? Like you can't
hmm.
just like think about those things. And Minecraft is the same way. Like Redstone, there are really cool Redstone applications, and there are these super cool chests called shulker boxes that you can get, but you have to go to the ancient city and defeat a mob called a shulker in order to assemble this shulker box. And
Oh my gosh.
the reason why you would want a shulker box is because it gives you extra inventory space when you're on the go. It's really
Oh
cool.
wow, that's really useful.
Yeah, it's a super cool box. Yeah, there's so many things I can go on and on about like the different things that there are to do in the game. And it's really on you and kind of bringing back like the imagination thing we were talking about in the first title. Dude, you have to have the imagination to really play Minecraft. Like people are like, I don't get Minecraft. Like I don't know what there is to do. And that I don't know. I feel like that tells me a lot about the person.
Hmm.
Not to like make, not to be negative, but like Yeah,
No, yeah,
you gotta be
absolutely.
creative. You have to just come up with things to do for yourself.
You have to let your mind kind of fill in the blanks a little bit. And like I
Right.
think that man, with video games right now, so much is explicit. And I think it's kind of funny, it's kind of interesting, like that Minecraft still has this wide appeal. And in my mind, it kind of proves that it is the game and like the narratives that you tell yourself. Like it's all of it together more than just like the graphics of it all. And because like if you think about retro games, like they're little pixels, like they're boxes, like they're little boxes on a screen. And when you like go to Minecraft, it is still pixel boxes in a way. They're just like big 3D boxes, and that's the world. And it's crazy, man. It's such a sandbox. And when you were talking about it, I don't know, kind of just like what I was thinking about was like, you really are an engineer in this world. You know what I mean? Like, I can jump in and I can play Minecraft, but like, and I can have a good time and like, I can make a farm, but like, you as somebody that's spent so much time in it, and I just feel like you just understand it at such like a different level. And you said it was like kind of like code, and it's like, I'm sure that you could create a contraption or like do something that like I've never even seen, could never even have conceived of with like just because you're familiar with like the physics and the engine and everything that's in it. Like it kind of becomes like a sandbox where like the more time you spend in it, the more familiar you are with it.
No, for sure. It totally is like the biggest sandbox, and it definitely has inspired so many great other sandbox games. And I feel like Minecraft has been an inspiration for so many things. I can't tell you the number of different applications I've heard of for Minecraft. Like architects use Minecraft to help them sometimes, like rent, just think about things and as a little like modeling thing that's like more creative and different from what they're doing. In a way, yeah, I definitely see the engineering aspect. Kind of bringing back a game I mentioned earlier, Minecraft Story Mode. That actually is one of the characters is an engineer. You have an engineer, you have I think it's a chemist, or a person who knows how to make potions and knows all about enchantments. You have like the kind of soldier archetype, the person who is all strapped up with the armor and has all the golden apples and, the enchanted swords and tridents. And so there's so many different avenues that you could take and you can master so many different facets of the game because there just are so many. It's so fascinating. It's kind of like Skyrim in a way because it's like there's
Hmm.
smithing and there's like alchemy and there's, all these different things that you can choose to explore if you want to or not. Sometimes even till this day, I kind of get upset at myself that I'm like, I feel like I'm very surface level. And this is something I have to deal with, like, as a person. Like, it's even bigger than just Minecraft. Like, I feel like sometimes I don't go as in depth into things and I'd like to go more in depth.
Hmm.
And I definitely feel like Minecraft is one of those things where I'm like kind of still at just barely scratching the surface of things. And
Really? You think so?
yeah, even as detailed as I'm going, bro, like
I don't
it
know, man.
goes
I think that
deeper, bro.
you're in the
It
upper
goes
echelon, I would say.
No, for sure. I agree, but like it goes so much deeper, bro. And I'm only able to see how deep it goes because of how far I've gone.
Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, like the Dunning-Kruger curve?
I think that's like basically like your expertise on a topic, something
Yeah,
like
like
that. Like,
versus your confidence.
right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like we are at the complete opposite of that. So yeah, kind of it goes like when you first start something, you have a lot of confidence, but not a lot of experience and knowledge. And then as your experience and knowledge grows, your confidence goes down because you realize how much you didn't know. But then it kind of like comes back up a little bit, but your confidence never gets as high as what it was when you were in the beginning. So sometimes like if I'm in a situation where I don't have a lot of confidence, I'm like have more knowledge than I did when I, first started. So I'm just like, just do it, man. But I feel like you're on the other end of that where I'm like, oh yeah, I can build a farm. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what like half you said. I don't know what a golden apple is. What the hell is that, Brandon? I don't know it. I don't, do you eat that? Do you eat those? Do you feed those to
Yeah. So
sheep?
what happens with the golden apple is if you need 9 golden blocks, so you can make a super golden
Oh,
apple.
sure, sure. A super golden apple, Brandon. Wow, I definitely have heard of that one.
So the regular golden apple gives you like a buff to your health, and then the super golden apple gives you like the buff times 10, essentially.
Wow. Okay.
It's an essential part of fighting because if you're about to scrap, eat a golden apple, and it's like a hit of, I don't know. A stimulant. It's like a stimulant.
Okay.
You're gonna get
Okay.
in there, and you're definitely gonna, you're gonna mess them up. It's, especially if they don't have one either. But that's like only if you're really into like the combat and you understand like what it takes to fight in Minecraft.
Okay.
But like as a farm thing, like you can make an automatic farm with a couple of redstone repeaters and some,
I don't know what that is either.
and it'll,
See, I'm telling you, man, you've got way more knowledge than I.
you could even collect the thing. You wouldn't even have to touch your farm. All you would have to do is play, and you can walk away and leave it AFK, and you could just collect, have your farm like automatically go into a chest.
Damn. You mean like your farm with like cows and stuff?
That too, you could make an automatic farm
Oh God, I don't even want to think
grinder.
about
You could
that.
make
Like
an
that
automatic
makes me
mob.
feel bad.
Yeah, sounds like real life, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
I
make
don't know
an
about that.
automatic mob grinder where you automatically kill the mobs, spawn them, and then kill them. It's
Dang.
super cool.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I think you might be a jack of all trades and master of all of them as well. So I don't know. I think you know more about that than you're leading on. But let's take a quick break and talk about some more Minecraft in a sec.
Awesome. See you soon.
All right, we are back, and I don't know about you, Brandon, but I found 3 golden apples back here. Apparently, I'm only a third of the way to a super golden apple, but I got 3.
Dude, 3 is all you need. That should be enough to take on some pillagers.
Okay.
I've heard they've been plotting on you, Blake. You've been at the village.
You know, they wouldn't find much in my crates if I'm being honest. And actually, Brandon, I have something to confess. I have something I need to get off my chest, Minecraft related. Oh God, honestly, I feel a little bit embarrassed. And I know you've talked about it a lot, and I have a buddy Kyle, and he's talked to me about it a lot. I have no idea what redstone is. I don't know what redstone is. I don't know what it's for. I said it.
So, dude, redstone is basically ore. It's a naturally occurring ingredient. It spawns at really low levels in Minecraft. You really got to get down under the earth. You really got to dig down there to get some redstone. And when you find redstone, you can't mine it with a regular cobblestone pickaxe. You need to use an iron pickaxe. And that's the same with diamonds.
Okay, so you can't get redstone or diamonds with a cobblestone. You need at least the iron one.
Right. You need
And
to
you can
upgrade
and
your
you
pickaxe in order to mine redstone and diamond.
okay. And you can find the iron ingots, right? You can find those and then you put those in your oven, right?
Right. You have to smelt them in the furnace.
Okay.
Then you make your ingot. And the ingot is a lot easier to work with than the raw ore. But you could also take raw ores and make blocks out of them too. It's up to you. So the ingots help you make armor. You can make tools. Something I've been making recently with my ingots are lanterns. So
Okay.
instead of just regular old torches that are a bit of a fire hazard, especially if you have a wood home,
Mm-hmm.
you can make a lantern. Basically, you have to take an iron ingot, or rather, is it one? No, I think it's 3, and you have to tear them down and make 9 iron chunks. You can make like little pieces out of your ingots,
Mm-hmm.
and you put those around your torch to make the lantern.
Okay.
9 of those around your torch, and you make the lantern. And
Wow.
I love the lantern because you also have a chain that you can make and hang it from the chain, and you can make the chain as long as you want.
Oh, that's cool.
Super cool feature that like I wasn't used to because I've been playing Minecraft on consoles from way back when they first released them on the console. I was super excited because I love Minecraft on PC. And it's just nice to see all these features that you could find on the PC version, but they're all finally here on the console, and it feels so nice that I can experience that on the platform that I launch in. So
Yeah,
shout
that's awesome, man. I didn't really know that there was a difference.
yeah, dude, there's a huge
Wow.
difference up until Microsoft purchased Minecraft. Do you remember that purchase? I think it was back in 2018.
I do remember that.
It's a huge deal because they kind of put everything together and made it more cohesive for everyone. Now I can play, like, I can get on my Bikini Bot. I can join the Bikini Bottom realm from my PC version if I wanted to, or from my Switch on the go, or even from Minecraft iPhone edition.
Mm-hmm.
You could play realms. That's kind of the service that they put it under. It's realms, and you can make a server or join the server. Yeah, man. Minecraft is where it's at, dude. Honestly, I've kind of underestimated how much Minecraft really means to me. And I think when you find something in life that you really like, you got to hold on to it because it's like it's inherently a part of you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I guess just really quick on the Microsoft Minecraft, it looks like Microsoft acquired Minecraft for 2.5 billion, and which doesn't sound a lot in today's dollars, but I think it was one of the largest gaming acquisitions to date. And you have to think this was not a company, this was just an IP. There's an article that I found, and it says Microsoft announced this is the most successful acquisition to date.
I can see why. Honestly, it's a
Yeah.
steal for a couple billion, a couple 40 million.
Yeah, but you have to think too, like kind of what you said, like it wasn't that when they bought it. It wasn't that. It wasn't what it is now. Like they put so much into
It
it.
wasn't what it is now, but like to the people that played it, like Minecraft,
Mhm.
it's one of those word of mouth games, you know? Like it sells itself.
Yeah. I actually, man, one of my earliest, I guess, experiences with Minecraft was not necessarily me playing it, but it was hearing about other people playing it. It was at a time when it was on PC and I didn't have a PC. I didn't grow up really playing video games very much. Like I had the Nintendo consoles, but I don't know, I wouldn't have never considered myself a gamer. And I had some people, I guess, in my Boy Scout troop, and they loved Minecraft. And they would always like, we had these charity events, they were called like newspaper drives. And basically, oh my gosh, it was crazy. My Boy Scout troop would like rent this. Oh my gosh, what goes on the back of a semi truck? I'm totally blanking. Like basically the thing that they haul like a semi truck. You know what I'm talking about? Like the storage container.
And don't tell me they would like have a Minecraft truck.
Oh no 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 this no no
That's
hold
where
on hold
my brain was going. Like
on.
they literally took the truck, they put a bunch of computers back there, and they started playing
No 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 no. That would have been really cool. Actually, that would have been very on brand for them. But basically, in this, what we would have, it was called a paper drive, and the Boy Scout troop would rent one of those, like one of those semi truck trailers. That's what they're called, semi truck trailers. I don't know why my brain couldn't think of that. But basically, and then we would show up there and we would work in shifts, and people would come and donate newspapers, and we would, throughout the course of a day, like we would be taking these newspapers and we would fill up this whole truck full of newspapers. And then I think we would make a certain amount of money on the recycled newspapers. And, but we were also like, it was a lot of work, but we also like, we were just boys and we were waiting for, people to drop off newspapers. So there was a lot, I mean, generally we would fill up pretty much the most of the truck, but there's a lot of downtime to chat. And a lot of times, like, there'd be some of the older guys that they would just talk about their escapades in Minecraft. And I just remember hearing about this one. I have this in my mind. It's very vivid. And it was, they had made a farm for pigs. And then they created like a stair step, like down to, oh my gosh, what's it called? Where it's like the lava area.
It could be the Nether.
Yeah, the nether. They made like a stairway to the nether. I think they had like a pen where they had like pigs and they would make pigs. And I think that they had like I'm trying to think now what it's called, like a trap door. And they would like open the trap door.
It seemed like they were making zombie pigmen.
Yeah. And they would just like see what happened, like see how many pigs would fall down. And they would like just watch this happen.
Because what happens when a pig goes into the Nether is they become a zombie pigman.
Oh
And
my gosh.
zombie pigmen,
I didn't even know this.
dude, they gang up, bro. Like you hit one zombie pigman and all the zombie pigmen turn their head and they just start chasing you. But there's one catch. If you have gold on, you happen to have a piece of gold armor on, they don't mess with you.
Wow.
They love gold and they worship you. They think you're like a god or something if you have gold on.
What? What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh
you,
my
you can
gosh.
actually trade with them too. If you give them a piece of gold, you just drop a gold ingot, they'll pick it up and give you something after you've given them like enough pieces of gold.
Oh my gosh. Now that I know that, that is for sure what they were doing. I'm sure they even made like a second staircase where they, with glass, so they could see these become pigmen. Oh my gosh. I'm sure that they did that. I'm sure that they definitely played it enough to have a gold helmet. And I'm sure it was a helmet. And I'm sure that they had a cult of pigmen.
Oh man, Minecraft. See the things people get up to, like I would have never thought of something like that, but that's it sounds really fun. It sounds like you could have a blast with some friends and spend some time just watching pigs turn into pigmen.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that like I still remember that all these years later. You know what I mean?
It really, it stayed with you because it's like something about a game that you played and it just like it touched you.
hmm Yeah, absolutely.
And there are things about Minecraft that I hear people do, and I'm still fat. Like, I'm just like, how did you make that happen in the game? I don't even think the creators of the game like intended for that to happen, but somehow it happened. It's crazy.
Yeah. You know, there actually, I will say one thing on this. I have this author that I really like. I loved their books when I was a kid, and I follow them on Instagram. And they posted a while ago about how there was a community of people that, and they made a series of 4 books, and it was a high fantasy series. And I don't know, I thought they were really awesome. I guess they were called the Inheritance Cycle. I think that's what the name of the books was called. Yeah, it's called The Inheritance Cycle. I think it was 4 or 5 books. I think it's by Christopher Paolini. Have you heard of these?
I haven't. The Inheritance Cycle.
Yeah, so you probably wouldn't even recognize it by that because that's what he named it at the end of it. But basically, it was like the Aragon series, which is like it basically had like a blue dragon on the front, and there was Aragon and Eldest, and I think there was then Brizinger, then Inheritance. That was the name of I guess it's 4 books. So 4 books in the Inheritance Cycle. Anyways, it's basically like a epic high fantasy story. I don't know. I would definitely recommend it if anybody's looking for that. I don't know, it's probably my favorite of all time. I read it as a kid, listened to the audiobooks a couple years ago. Anyways, he posted on his Instagram, and this community of people had made in Minecraft the entirety of the land that is in this like fantasy novel, which is
Wow.
it's called the Land of Allegasia. And they had made all the cities and all of the places.
To a T, right?
Yeah. And like some of the cities were like to scale. And I'm just, man, maybe I should jump in that because I think they like made it's like a community.
Yeah, dude, hop in there. It's probably a mashup pack. I wouldn't be surprised. Like
Oh
there's
man.
like a mashup pack or something there.
Yeah, maybe.
That makes me think about a project that's really cool. There's this
hmm
Minecraft Earth project that,
Minecraft Earth.
right. And there are people trying to build like a scale Minecraft world of our Earth, essentially.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's,
That is crazy. That's a crazy undertaking because that would take forever. Oh
it's
my gosh. That's like a project that people could dedicate their lives to.
I think they like went in the back end and like scraped Google's API and like looked at the code. It's like because you can also get into the code of the game on the computer.
hmm
You can do cheats and like so. I think that's what they did. They're not building it like one for they're not looking at like okay now let's build Sweden. Like I think they're having computers render.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was gonna say they would never get that
Yeah,
done.
that's what I'm saying. They're made now.
I was
So
gonna say also, I was like, I mean, hey, I guess that's part of it. Like it's therapeutic, Maybe they'll get half the earth.
even the fact that we can like do that and that there are people doing this is like just speaks to the game and what you can do and the level of creativity you can have. And
Yeah, that's really cool. I know there are some Star Wars packs. I wonder, I guess I don't know. Do you know if any of those like Star Wars packs that you can get, like, do they have actual places from like the Star Wars universe in those
yeah,
packs? Can you can like get those
yeah, they
locations?
do. And actually, Star Wars is like one of the
Oh
main,
shit.
like, even Microsoft has had Star Wars texture packs. Like, they've really
Oh
supported
man.
that because they know that people are going to buy it. People are going to put the
I
Minecraft
might buy it. I mean, like I kind of knew it was a thing, but I didn't really
texture
know.
packs, like mashup
Oh
packs, where like
man.
the whole game mode kind of switches. It's no longer just the Minecraft that you're used to. Like the game kind of changes in a way.
Oh wow, like the mechanics and like what you
Right,
can do and
right.
oh
And the way
shoot.
the world, interacts. And it's so much you could do with Minecraft. And that's why I was saying like 40 billion for Minecraft. I mean, ultimately at the time it wasn't what it was, but like Man, it's an idea that can make so much money. It's
Oh
insane.
my gosh, wow. Yeah, I mean that's it's crazy. I mean it's truly a sandbox. Wow. I mean, I haven't really played it since we had that Minecraft realm, but man, maybe I should jump back into it.
Yeah, jump back in the realm. That realm is still active. I never stopped paying for it.
Oh, really? Wow.
I still hop in it till this day. Actually, I do have bad news though. I replenished it because I had some bad apples that were griefing.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
I had to completely restart the world. Griefing means somebody came in and like was stealing out of chests, burning things down, like just messing things up in the server
Wow. I
while we
guess
were
that's what
off.
happens when you make it public to everyone.
Yep. Or it could have been Herobrine. Have you heard the Minecraft legend of Herobrine?
Here, Brian?
Herobrine. Herobrine.
Hero
Hero
Brian?
Hero
No.
Herobrine.
Oh, Hero
Yeah.
Brine.
Yeah.
Okay. Brine.
So I think Herobrine is like kind of like a legend. Like no one's really sure if Herobrine actually exists. He's like a rumored mob found in Minecraft.
Oh my gosh, this is spooky. I'm Googling this right now.
Yeah. And apparently he's the creator's dead brother. So the creator is Notch. Notch created Minecraft and some Swedish guy, and his dead brother is apparently like haunting the game. I don't know. It's
Oh my gosh, this is
a bunch of different theories, but
it says okay, let me read this. Let me read this. It says Herobrine is a human entity with the player skin of Steve. Unlike Steve, his eyes are completely white with no visible irises or pupils. Oh my gosh. Herobrine is a rumored hostile mob found in Minecraft. He is the center of endless speculation. I don't know, man. That's crazy. I never have heard of Herobrine.
it could be haunting one of your worlds, bro.
Wow. So I guess what's the legend about him?
So basically, the legend is that he haunts worlds. Like he chooses to just go into random seeds. So they're actually like Minecraft seeds that are every single Minecraft random generation of the Minecraft world is different, right? But there's a number to identify that. Think of like a social security number for a
Uh-huh.
generation of a Minecraft world. So there are seeds, known seeds, where Herobrine will exist, where he exists. And basically, what he will do, he's a mob, like a skeleton or a zombie. What he'll do is he'll lurk around and he'll mess with you. Like he'll steal blocks, he'll break things. Like if you're in an area where you're about to die, like you know you can fall into that pit of lava because you're like mining. It's really gnarly. He might just hit you and you fall into the lava. He's like a troll that was like built into the game by basically it was a Mojang employee that I don't know. He got upset or something. He wanted to put like make his revenge. Or he put him into the game, and they've removed him. Like he's officially not a part of the game, but there are seeds where he still does exist.
Oh my gosh, that's like crazy.
And he's a legend. He's a myth, man. Hero Brian. I'm glad I got to put people on to him.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm reading some stuff about it. I gotta stop. I gotta click away. It's really spooky.
Yeah, there's a lot of like creepy pasta stuff. Don't look into that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm a little bit spooked. I'm scared that Hero Brian's gonna come into our recording. He's gonna curse us like
Stop.
Gengar, Brandon.
Stop. Listen, dude, why'd you bring up Gengar?
I don't know, dude. He could be honestly, he could be the one that's messing with our realm.
It could very well be Herobrine, although I do know someone who is responsible for messing with our realm. So they're probably in cahoots with Herobrine.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised, man.
I wouldn't be either.
That's crazy. Honestly, you learn something new every day. Actually, that's really cool. I'm really glad that I learned that and we could talk about that today. But if you don't mind, do you mind if I move on to the next game on our topic? Our next
Yeah,
game
let's
on
go
our
for it.
docket. That's the word I meant to say.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, man. So I'm just going to speak about this game briefly. This game is called Rollerdrome, and I got a preview of this game. It was 35 minutes. I streamed it and I put it on our YouTube. So if you'd like to see, the first 35 minutes of Rollerdrome, you can find us on our YouTube and check out the whole 35 minutes that I got. I kind of break down my first thoughts and impressions on that video. So I won't really get into that today, but I just wanted to kind of shout it out a little bit and give you a little bit about what the game is. So go check it out there on our YouTube. Also, we've been streaming a lot recently and we've been uploading all of those to our YouTube. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube in a while, there's a lot of stuff there that you can watch. And yeah, just check it out. But Rollerdrome. Well, have you heard about this game, Brandon?
I haven't.
Okay. So this game is incredibly sick. And I say sick and I mean sick, dude. It is sick. So basically, the conceit of it is you are a hero and you have roller skates and you're in a skate park, kind of like Tony Hawk, and you do a bunch of sick tricks and you have guns and you have to shoot guns. And it's super awesome. It feels great. It's actually by the developers of OillOill World, which we talked about earlier in the year.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Yes, I think it's a Roll 7. I think they did it in tandem with another studio. I don't remember exactly what the name of that is, so check them out. But basically, they came to OillOill World, developer slash publisher. I think it's Roll 7, and here. Let me look that up actually while I'm looking at it. Yeah, it is called Roll 7, and they're published by Private Division. And let's see, I think Rollerdrome is the same. Yeah, so I think for Rollerdrome, the developer is also Roll 7, published by Private Division. So they kind of worked in tandem here. I thought there was something else. But, I think that there's some like maybe an IGN story or something out there about the development of this game. You should check it out because it's really cool that they put a game out in February that they had been working on for a long time. And then this also comes out. And I just think it's crazy to hear about games from the same developer coming out like in 1 or 2 years, but it's even crazier when they come out in the same fiscal year. So it's a very cool story around the development of them. So check that out. Look the internet for those. That's very cool. But basically, man, it's just a crazy, awesome game concept. And basically, it's in the not so distant future. The year is 2030, and it's complete dystopia, man. And basically, you are playing in this blood sport, and you've got roller skates on your feet. And you have to make it through these levels and defeat the House Goons. And they are kind of owned by a corporation. And basically, you have to, I guess, get through this like roller sport arena in order for you to move on to the next one. And it's like a blood sport. And it's so cool. Like the locomotion of you being on your roller skates just feels incredible. Like it is just so awesome. It's so sick. Definitely worth checking out. Definitely check out the YouTube video. I mean, like it's really cool just like going through that. And it was kind of fun because I played it very differently than how I normally play games. I normally like to like read the dialogue and I was just like, no, like we got to go through. We just got to push through just so I can see as much of it as possible. And it has a very unique art style. Would you mind Googling the art style and just taking a look at that of Rollerdrome just so you can see it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. See the artwork. Kind of reminds me of Speed Racer a bit.
It's really cool. It's kind of like shell shaded and pastel, but it also like really pops. And I guess the art style, I really want to shout it out because it's Mobius inspired art style. And I think that this art style gets miscontributed a lot. But there was this artist, this comic artist that went by the name Mobius. I think he had his own studio or his own publishing company, Mobius Designs, I think. But yeah, it's in the Mobius art style, which I just think is an incredible art style. I really like it. And I would say it's in my top 2 favorite art styles. So at least, well, I don't know, maybe not top 2, definitely top 3 favorite art styles that exist. So it's like super awesome to have that art style, but also being paired with just like a cool game and just like a sick concept. Do you have any questions, Brandon, about like maybe the roller skating or the gunplay or anything like that?
Yeah, so you're shooting guns on roller skates.
Yes. And I guess I missed something. You have like a time freeze. It's like when you aim, it slows down time. So you can be like mid-trick, freeze time, look at an enemy, and then just like absolutely light them up while it's still, well, this time is still frozen.
Dude, that's sick.
Super awesome.
You
Well,
could make some crazy clips with that, I bet.
oh yeah, it's so much fun. And it's just like fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to play. That's just fun to be a part of it. So at this point, I've only done the 35-minute demo, but I'm probably going to get this game in a month or two when I have some more time. And I'm just so excited to play it because that was just like the perfect little tease. I'm totally going to bring it up again, but man, just very cool and something you can check out on the YouTube.
I'm excited to hear more about it. Yeah, we check it out on the YouTube and definitely streaming some more, Blake. So I'm curious to see what's up with that.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I think I was going to talk about Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but I think I'll save that for a future episode.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, we can't end the podcast up. It's season 3. We can't end it quite yet, Brandon. We have to do the 3DS game for season 3. One of our standing segments in season 3 is we bring up a 3DS game. And I wanted to bring up the original OillOill game to the table. Have you played the original OillOill
I have
video
not.
game?
The OG OillOill. So it's just OillOill. It's not OillOill World.
It's not OillOill World. It's just OillOill. So OillOill World is the third entry, and they had another one. It was like OillOill 2 or something. I don't know. It started with the 3DS, a $9.99 indie game, and it was all about the locomotion. And I guess the 3DS has a unique form factor, right, Brandon? I think it's not the first handheld to have a joystick, but it certainly has one of the most unique joysticks on the 3DS because it's like built into it. You know what I mean?
Right. You're talking about the left joystick.
Yep. Yep.
Dude, that thing, mine has gotten so kind of like old and it's just so weird now. But I remember when it was in its prime, I would just like flick that thing all around in a circle. And
yeah,
it was so easy to move around.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And it's kind of like it's different than a joystick because instead of like having it be like a pendulum, it's sliding. It slides around.
Right. It's
And
very satisfying.
yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the whole premise of OillOill is it's built for that kind of joystick. And I kind of credit OillOill World and I'll credit Rollerdrome with this as well. They made these games very accessible, OillOill World and Rollerdrome. Like you can get through an entire, I guess, level of OillOill World with just an ollie and a grind, which are some of the most simple tricks that you can do. They're literally just a flick of the joystick. And you can get through it and progress through the level, see the whole level, and continue on with the story with just that. Or you can do all kinds of tricks and flips and grinds and grabs, and you can just do so much stuff, but you don't have to. And in Rollerdrome, it's kind of the same, where you can't really mess up a trick. Like you do the trick and then you land it, and like doing the trick refills your ammo bar, which is also kind of cool. Check it out on our YouTube. But in OillOill, the original one, it was the opposite, Brandon. It is excruciatingly hard. And I have beaten it. I have seen all of the levels. Like, that's it. There's so much more that I could go back and do, but it is hard. It is very tough. And one thing that you have to do in this game, but they took away in the other game, is when you're going through these levels. So it's a 2D skateboarding game, and you kind of slide the joystick on the 3DS, and it feels so good. It feels so satisfying to slide from trick to trick. But you have to hit A in order to land the trick or to land the grind. So like let's say you hit a jump and you flick the joystick, or you do a sick combo by sliding the joystick maybe 360 degrees or maybe 180 degrees and back. That's how you would do a trick. And then you're coming up to pavement. You have to hit A at the exact moment that you land, or you lose the whole trick. So the OillOill games were awesome. I mean, it's awesome because, I mean, like you really have to like get good at it, and it's very satisfying when you do get good, and when you can like pull off a really sick combo in this awesome pixelated art style, which is also worth mentioning that like OillOill has a very pixelated 2D art style, and OillOill World is very much in like the Adventure Time kind of art style. But you have to like be really good at it, and it's very satisfying to get good, but it's also like it takes some time, and like it can be a little bit frustrating. And I think it's really awesome to have, the first entry in the franchise. I guess at the time it was only meant to be, a standalone indie game. But like it's a franchise now. And I just think it's so cool that it like started as this like grueling hard thing, and it's very specific. Like, it's a very specific want, like a 2D pixelated skating game that feels amazing, but is really hard to turn into, in my opinion, the most successful and the most accessible skating games. And I just think that's awesome that it all started from there.
OillOill. So it seems like the OG is like the real challenge. Like OillOill World, they kind of realized like, okay, we need to make this game like a little easier for
Well,
people.
I will say and I think what's so cool about them, Rollerdrome and actually Rollerdrome, I think is a little bit more difficult than OillOill World. You have the difficulty. Like there are 6 challenges for each level. And if you complete all 6 of those challenges, like it's hard, but you don't have to. Like you get rewarded with like cosmetic options, like ways you can customize your character. So it feels awesome when you're like, oh my gosh, I am going to beat these super challenging combos and I'm going to get this awesome hat or this awesome skateboard or like this dock. And it's just like, you don't have to engage with that, but if you want it to be hard, you can do all of that. So there's actually, and then you can also get a star next to the level if you complete it without bailing, which is like crashing. So like there's technically 7 challenges that you can do per each level. And I think there's like over 100 levels. So like you can really go as far into it as you want. And those challenges, if you do all of them, it's very difficult, but you don't have to. So it's like you can engage with it at your own skill level, which I think is really awesome.
I see what you mean. So it's like it's up to you if you want to just all lead through, or if you want to like still kind of the same premise.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kickflip, do a trick, make sure that you get a combo that has 18 tricks in it instead of, just ending every trick at one. Yeah.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Is there anything that OillOill has that OillOill World is lacking?
The 3DS joystick.
That's about it.
Yeah, I would say that it pretty much iterates on itself in I think it becomes better as it moves on. The series has progressed in I would say a positive way. Okay, this is what I want to say. It's iterated on itself, I would say, at every turn to get to where it's at today. And I think it's incredible where it's at today. But it's just very interesting to see those roots. So if you have a 3DS still, check it out. I think it was only $9.99 a little bit ago. Surely it can't be that much now. But I think that's all that we have for this episode. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Brandon?
No, I think that's about it. Definitely check out our YouTube and check out all these videos that we have up. Also, stay tuned. We got some streams coming for you on our Twitch. We put those under all of our episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Check us out there. It'd mean the world to us. And thank you so much for listening. You know where to find us. It's in the link in the description. And just thank you so much. Thank you to all our patrons. Just thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Peace in the streets.